This is the plaintiff, Kimmy Jo Robinson Russell. She claims she was forced to put up a fence because her creepy neighbor, the defendant, would take pictures of her kids in their bathing suits. He would also spray them with a hose, and due to his outrageous behavior, he should be forced to pay her half the cost of the privacy fence in the amount of $5,000. That's what she's suing him for. This is the defendant, Charles Hadley. He says everything was fine with his neighbor until she got 2 cats that weren't fixed. And now there are cats all over the place, and he's highly allergic. The cats come into his yard and have even snuck into his house. He didn't take pictures of the plaintiff's overweight, lethargic kids in their swimsuits. He was taking pictures of the raw sewage leaking into his yard, so he had proof for the authorities. Oh, or for a fence she chose to erect. No way. He's accused of being a nasty neighbor.
All parties, please raise your right hand. People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. Russell, you are suing your neighbor, Mr. Hadley, for $5,000, half the cost of a fence that you put up that you say you wouldn't have had to put up if it weren't for how creepy he is. Okay, tell me what's going on.
Okay, I've lived in my home for 20 years. And Mr. Hadley, I believe, moved there after my neighbor passed away maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Our initial interaction was him telling me that he don't deal with his neighbors, and he's going to put up a 6-foot brick fence in the front and an 8-foot brick fence in the back. And I was like, okay, well, he's not going to be friendly, so I'm not going to deal with that. Maybe a month or 2 later, he calls me and he's like, hey, I seen a white girl in your backyard, coming out of your backyard. I took a picture. And I said, why are you taking pictures over here? You know what I'm saying? Then he said, are these your cats? And most of the cats in the neighborhood are like neighborhood
Cats?
Cats.
Okay.
Or neighborhood cats. And the next thing I know, he was telling me, hey, I got a picture of your cats having sex. They're gonna have more cats around here. You need to get them fixed. Then the next thing, cats were ending up dead. And he was putting them on my porch. Hey, this cat is dead, you know, and put it on my porch. And I'm like, this guy is really creepy. My grandkids come over my house all the time, and they're in the yard playing. He wants to water his trees as soon as they come there. He wants to water his trees, not down at the roots, but at the top. So he's wetting the kids in the yard, and they're telling me, he's wetting us, he's wetting us. I said, can you please stop wetting us? He said that he could do what he wants to. He owns his property, and pretty much kind of belittling me because I'm a renter. He owns his property. And then it just kept increasing. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna put a fence up to keep him from over here. He's constantly taking pictures. His whole phone should be full of pictures.
What is he taking pictures of?
The kids in the yard, when they're in their swimsuits, all the time. He's just taking pictures of everything.
Okay, I'm imagining that maybe there are words being said back and forth as well. Was there a problem between you two regarding something on your property?
He had a problem with the septic tank over flooding in my backyard. I had a problem with that, okay?
Right.
But what the problem was, we doing COVID, you know, in the backlash of COVID, and the people that come out to service it, they would pump the thing. They thought that's all they needed was to be pumped. So they did that a couple of times, and then they said, oh no, the lines is messed up. So now we gotta wait for the city to come out to inspect, to reroute the lines in the backyard. So it was a waiting process for that situation to be going on.
He filed a complaint against you for that, right?
Yes.
Okay, with who? With the city?
Yes. Which actually helped me out because they got out there quicker. He
Yeah.
was ignoring them, so annoying them so much that they said, hey, let's hurry up and get out of here and get this
Good.
done.
All right.
So it helped me a whole lot. Thank you.
Okay. After he files the complaint, though, you file against him in court, and you file a restraining order because you feel he is harassing you by taking pictures all the time of your place and your people.
No, what made me actually file for a restraining order, the fence that I put up is only like not even half of the yard. So it was still a lot still open. And so the owner said, well, we'll put trees up and that'll make some privacy there. So the guys came out to put the trees down, and he came out with a pole, and he told the guys that they can't put no trees on the property that I'm on. You can't put no trees right here. And he was being very hostile with his pole.
What was his premise, that that was his property where they're
No.
putting the trees?
No, his promise was that once the trees grow up, he would have to deal with it on his side. That was his problem.
Okay. All right. So what happened? Were the trees planted?
No. After that happened, the guys that was planting the trees called the owner, and he told them that the man was harassing him with the pole and everything. So he said, no, we're going to put wood from that part. Just
And so was wood put up?
Yeah, for a little part, a little bit more.
Okay. Who paid for that wood?
The owner.
But the owner didn't pay for the privacy fence that you put up?
No.
All right. So you asked the owner for permission, you put up a privacy fence. How's it gone since then?
Oh, after that, the fence was messed up. It was like coming down or something, so I called the company, and they came out, and they said that it looks like it had been tampered on the other side of on his side of the fence, and they had to reconstruct it. And they said they did that as a courtesy because it looked like someone had actually damaged the fence.
Here's you taking a picture of him.
Yes, with the
Okay,
pole.
what's happening there when you're taking a picture of him?
That's what the guys trying to plant the trees.
Oh, is that the
right
pole
there.
you were referring to?
Yes, the metal pole he had.
And what is he saying in that picture?
That we cannot put no trees right here. To stop doing what we're doing, we cannot put no trees.
Of course you can put trees.
Now, that's him on the tractor kicking up dirt. The kids was in the what's name. He don't have no grass. He just kicking up the dirt for no reason.
This is a fence you put in.
Yes,
So there's his fence and then your fence right next. Okay.
yes.
And since this fence has been put in, has it been better? Because you don't see him?
I still see him. He would get on that boat. If there's a boat right there, he would get on that boat right there and take pictures over in the yard.
What's he taking pictures of?
Kids in the yard, me.
Is it because you two don't get along and he's filing complaints against you with the city, or is it because you think he's a sexual predator? I'm trying to understand.
I've been trying to understand that too, because that's him after the fence was put up, actually by the fence, but doing something by the fence. And that's on closer to my
When you
side.
say he's in front of the fence, is he on his property or your property?
Right there looks like he's on my property where the fence is.
What's going on, Mr. Hadley? Why do you two not get along? What's the deal?
Alrighty, Your Honor. It's nice to meet you. Everything she says and everything I went through with the restraining order, I categorically deny. Okay? I have evidence.
Were you taking pictures of her grandchildren?
No, absolutely not.
So when you move in there, were the two of you getting along?
Yes, I have a card from her because she asked me over to her house one time to do some. Her sink or something was stopped up, so she invited me over, and I graciously came over, and then she felt so appreciative about it that she sent me a card appreciating.
Saying thank you.
Saying thank you.
All right,
Card of
so at the
appreciation.
beginning, everything's fine. When does it go sour, do you think?
It's because I was trying to help her with her sewer issue because I felt maybe the reason why it wasn't getting done was because it's so expensive, and so because I own a tractor, and so I wrote her up an invoice that she could give to the owner, and I would help them fix it.
You have the know-how to help them fix it?
Yeah.
So it's a plumbing issue?
Plumbing issue,
All right.
sewage, and they had raw sewage out on the ground. At first,
How did it affect you? Because I presume you could smell it.
I'm a very allergic person, and I had an accident 3 years prior where I got hit in the head on a tractor, and I got knocked off the tractor, and I went into the emergency and got taken care of for that. And they give me some dye, to go throughout my body. But like a year later, not even a year later, I contracted cancer.
Okay.
And I had a 3.5-inch tumor removed under my armpit. For the last 3 years, I've been deathly sick the whole time she's saying this is going on.
Okay, can I ask you this? You can smell the sewage issue.
Every day.
Right.
And I've given you pictures to where you can see the cesspool that I'm dealing with, okay, and right outside my kitchen window for 2 years solid.
Is this a picture of the sewage issue we're talking about?
And
All right.
that's 2 feet deep.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Now, I love my neighbors. I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, and I do my best to get along with everybody. And I have no issues with her children other than the fact that they were constantly throwing things at our dogs. You know, kids can be kids, you know. And I've given you a video. That video there is one of her grandchildren acting all gangster in front of my house right after the restraining order. So they have tried to use that football to knock my camera out, and then they go out in the street, and you can see her grandson giving me the gangster sign like I'm going down. And this is like right after the
restraining order?
restraining order.
Now, tell me about the restraining order, Ms. Russell. You went to court and asked for a restraining order based on the fact that?
Based on the fact that he had been harassing me and my children, and they were scared to come outside. They were scared to play in the yard. They'll get wet, or he would take photos. One incident, he literally called my dog in his yard where that opening is. My dog went over there. My granddaughter tried to call him back, Chloe back, and he was yelling at my granddaughter saying, "Leave him alone, leave her alone. I'm playing with her." And we had that incident. Then when he said something about calling the police because we had guns over there, that was the problem. And that was all around the same time with the pole incident with the workers in the backyard. And I just said, I've had enough. And then my daughter also
you
told
went
me,
to court and there was a full-blown hearing, right?
yes.
Your Honor, I never threatened anybody with a pole. I never told her once I had any guns, okay? And like when she's talking with the dog, it's like, we love her dog. My wife loves her dog. She's got a wonderful little dog called Chloe. I never prevented them from coming and getting their dog, okay? The fact of the matter is I never called animal control on her was because of all her cats. And she came to me on my side of the property, and she says, Charles, she says, please don't call animal control because Chloe does not have any license. And I sympathize with her because it's a really, it's an awesome dog, okay?
So she files a restraining order against you and there's a hearing, right? And what happens?
Well, Your Honor, I've been dealing with cancer. First off, I'm being dragged into court at 8 o'clock in the morning when I'm sick with cancer treatment. Okay, so I'm not happy, okay? And the fact of the matter that I have showed extraordinarily amount of resolve in not reporting her for animal control and everything else. And I want to be a good neighbor. I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, okay? And we do our best to get along with our neighbors, okay? And the fact that she's taking me into court for a restraining order for defamation of my character, for saying and trying to paint me out like some sort of pervert, taking pictures of her kids, okay? They're fat, they're lethargic. I would never, even if they were...
I don't even know what that means because it sounds like you're saying that if they were slim and active, you would take pictures of them.
But I mean, I'm just saying, I have no desire, okay? I'm happily married, you know, and I have a family of my own. I have no desire.
Welcome back to the People's Court. I'm Harvey Levin. Can you imagine having an overflowing cesspool for years right in front of your house, and you just can't do anything about it because the town is ignoring you? Let's go back into the courtroom.
But the fact of the matter is that the harassment is coming from her side, but because I reported her to county over the sewage, I resisted.
When did you report her to the county over the sewage? When was it?
It was in January of
this year. And then when does she seek a restraining order against you?
It was March, I think.
So it was after you made the report to the city?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now, but what happens in court? The restraining order is actually granted.
What happened, I know, because reason it gets granted, I can't get along with the judge. She won't let me speak. She won't let me speak. Okay? And so I'm pissed off at her, okay? And she grants her everything she wants.
Hold on. In June of 2022, the plaintiff took me to court for a restraining order, but the court was filled with liberal nut jobs who took her side and wouldn't even let me speak. There was no basis to give the plaintiff a restraining order against me. All right. In any event, you're here today because you feel that he should have to pay you $5,000. Why?
Because of all the harassment. And
Right, but you decided to put up a $10,000 fence?
I did.
Right.
For safety, I also put
No,
cameras.
but that's fine, and you're free and
cameras
American. You can do whatever the heck you want. The issue is you've come to court to tell me, Judge, he has to pay half.
I believe it would be fair for him to pay half. Out of 20 years I lived in this neighborhood and it was open. I didn't have no cameras, I didn't have anything until this man started harassing. My grandkids don't want to come out and play. They
looked fine in the video. It doesn't look like they're cowering under a blanket or anything. They're
If you get yelled at, if you're getting yelled at and you're getting wet by water or either dust from him kicking up the tractor. I have a statement here of the fence company that said they had to come back out here and repair the fence as a courtesy because he did.
You have no evidence that he
right.
did that. You know
You're
that you
right.
have no but
You're right.
But your lawsuit isn't for that. Your lawsuit is for $5,000 because you think he should have to pay half. So what happens is then I have to analyze, is there some legal obligation on his part to pay for half of a fence that's completely on your property, that you completely hired somebody to do, and that you decided you wanted up? I hear what you're saying. Well, but I wouldn't have had to do that if he wasn't annoying and I didn't hate him. But, you know, or he was taking pictures of my property and my whatever it is that you're saying. I hear what you're saying. But I can't, in a court of law, say you have to pay for half of the fence unless there is something that requires him to pay for half of the fence. Like it's on the property line and you live in a jurisdiction where the town says each of you are responsible for maintaining the fence. And then that would only be if it was maintaining a fence, not creating a fence. So there is no law, there is no legal obligation on his part to pay for any part of this fence. And so you may feel that he is morally required to because, you know, look at this, I had to get a restraining order, and you ended up getting the restraining order. But your remedy when someone is acting weird, in your opinion, or illegally in your opinion, or harassing you in your opinion, is to do exactly what you did, which is to get a restraining order. That's your remedy. But if you choose to do something else, such as, you know, put up a $10,000 fence, that's on you. It's not on him. And there is no legal obligation on his part to help you pay for that. So my verdict in this case is for the defendant.
Thank you, Ron.
So the defendant prevails in this case of a war between neighbors, and he does not have to pay half the cost of her fence. He does not owe her $5,000. Let me ask you how you feel about the judge's decision.
I don't feel it's fair. I think
Well,
it should be a cost to harassing people for no reason.
Well, you're entitled to your decision, but according to the judge, it just is not the case.
Okay.
And I'm sorry.
Okay.
So the defendant is Mr. Hadley, and he is on his way out of the court. And Mr. Hadley, I know you're elated. Obviously, you won the case. What are your thoughts right now?
Well, I just want to say I want to categorically reject any and everything she said, because I have been a good neighbor and I have exercised a lot of resistance in suing her myself. And
Well, let me ask you, since she sued you and lost, do you think this is going to ease up a little bit, the problems between the two of you?
I
What's
doubt
gonna
it
happen
on
now?
her side, because the harassment is coming from her and her family, not me.
Well, all we can say is good luck to you. I hope you can find some peace in your neighborhood. That's the one thing everybody wants. Good luck to you.
All right, thank you, sir.
So it's kind of interesting, Doug. So I guess the plaintiff's theory is that because the defendant was taking all these pictures, that fence that was erected the cost should be split. That's just not the case. Here's the reality. Pictures now are just a form of everyday life. It's not really generally considered intrusive. Everybody's got a ring bell, a cell phone, whatever, where, pictures abound. So that does not justify splitting the cost of anything.
Is it hearsay when someone testifies about what happened as opposed to what was said? As in the case where the wedding reception was ruined because the food was lousy and served late?
No. You can always testify about what you observed, the things that were happening, your own experiences, what the food tasted like, and the like in a courtroom. In small claims court, the hearsay rule is
Or a
often
little more relaxed
relaxed
because lawyers
for
aren't
both
there.
sides. There's no
Yeah.
lawyers there, and the judge will be able to separate the stuff that he or she shouldn't really consider versus
Right.
the stuff that he or she should consider. So,
Or so the judge says.
or so they say, right? It's funny, you know, the hearsay rule has 20 through 24 exceptions.
Yeah, there's lots of
a lot of
exceptions to the hearsay
exceptions
rule.
to it. Generally speaking, it's when you have an out-of-court statement by someone that you're going to repeat in the courtroom to prove the truth of that statement. That's
To prove the truth of,
general rule.
of
Right.
what is asserted in the statement.
Right, but you don't have to worry about it too much in small claims. And the reality is, in any courtroom, it tends to turn out that the hearsay rule is whatever the judge says it is.